The real way that you know that you can afford any kind of car is when you pay cash for it and you don't regret losing the money. Every car that I own back there, I paid cash. All right. Which is very rare. And it's rare for two reasons. Number one, a lot of people don't have. What did I do? Number one?
You're like number one?
Okay. Number one, the majority of people don't have the cash to put down on a car like that. That's number one. Number two, it's actually a stupid decision. And the reason why it's a stupid decision is because the opportunity cost of leveraging that cash that you put down on a car versus financing or leasing that car is really fucking stupid. But for me, I want to modify the car. You can't modify the car doing shit like that, okay? So, nonetheless, it's not the best option. The reason why I had that wrapped up in my mind was because in the beginning, I wanted to make sure unequivocally I could afford those cars. And I could. I paid cash, and in the end, the only way to know that you can truly afford those cars is there's not a certain calculation. I've heard people be like, oh, the only time that you'll ever find out if you can own an exotic car is if you can pay for it twice, or if you could pay it for it like 3 times over. No, the real way that you know that you can afford any kind of car is when you pay cash for it and you don't regret losing the money. That's it. So if that car goes away completely and that money is completely gone, it doesn't necessarily change your life that much. Get what I mean? That's the only way to know if you can afford an exotic car. That is it. Would you agree?
In theory,
you wouldn't know. Okay?
I wouldn't know yet.
But in theory.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I feel like I don't have an exotic car, but even just with like the car purchase, because back when I was younger, I had like an actual car payment that I was like, it was stretching for the income that I had. And I was like, oh, I want a newer car or whatever. And then I was like, wait, why the fuck am I paying a car payment when I'm just getting started here?
Yeah.
So I literally looked for like a reliable little fucking cheap ass thing where I cared so little about that car that in my old apartment building, I literally was backing up. I backed into a cement pillar. I laughed and drove away. I didn't even give a fuck that I hit a cement pillar. That was because for me, like $3,000 at the time for a car, I'm like, if this thing literally just fucking combusts and I have to go buy another used car, I don't give a fuck. Like that money is like lost to me. I don't even care. Which is ironic that I actually gained money on the sale of that car. But and then even like with the one right now, it's something that like it's a newer car, but I can comfortably afford it. Where like if it fucking like just goes away, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like I'll be okay with it.
Right? That's how you know that you can afford any kind of car, or especially an exotic car, because I get that question asked a lot. Dan, how do I know when it's time that I can afford an exotic car?
But I feel like that principle should be applied to really any car. Like even if you're like
anything, even
anything. You're like, oh, I want to buy like a
maybe not your house, but
house may be a different story, but even like I was talking to someone about this the other day, and like they're trying to like max out the like what they have for their available purchase power for a house. So they're like looking for the max, even maybe a little more than the max. I'm like, why are you trying to do that? Because like, what if something changes to your employment or whatever, a huge bill comes up for something unforeseen? Like if you're pushing to the max right now, like maybe that's not a good idea.
They want that novelty, man. I'm telling you, it comes back to that. They want to they want to keep up with the Joneses, and they want that fucking novelty. And it really, at the end of the day, it's just going to be a fucking place to sleep and cook your food. Like that's what I mean. Like that's why I'm like, fuck this. That's why I went after the water, and I don't give a fuck what kind of house I was going to live in. You know, but because I knew that with water, no matter what happens in the economy, you're always in good shape.